What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, looking at this new interesting counter trap coming out of Circuit Break called Shutline that, in my opinion, has amazing potential. And if we were ever going to see a column-based card break through and actually see play competitively, I think that this is going to be the card, because not only is it powerful, but it's actually not as situational as some people might actually believe. So it's coming out of Circuit Break, and before we even talk about the card, can we just admire how lovely the artwork is? I know for a lot of people, they probably don't care about Battery Man, but I'm telling you, I've said this before and I'll say it again, Battery Man was one of the most fun decks you could actually play throughout the entire Arc V era, and I like it because it was very similar to Volcanics. It's one of those archetypes that was pretty much terrible, and then it got like one card and it was like, oh my god, this shit is actually amazing just because we got 9-volt. Now, you guys have pretty much, you guys have known ever since the Link monster was pretty much given to us by Konami that card placement was actually going to start mattering, because obviously you have to keep track of your opponent's link points and how they plan on extending their field, and then if one of their link points points towards you, it's like, okay, well, I can go into my extra deck and I can extend my field, etc, etc, etc. So like, column support was kind of in a prime position to make a comeback, and you know, column support was pretty much terrible at first. Konami kind of started it back in GX with Cyberdark Impact, but it was never really that good. But we anticipated getting more, because now in Yu-Gi-Oh, card placement is actually going to matter, and I think that this is going to be the card that is probably going to break through the meta and actually start seeing some competitive play. So this is Shutline. It's a counter trap, and to quickly paraphrase it, it's basically an Infernity barrier. It says when a spell/trap card or monster effect is activated in this face down card's column, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So giving every archetype a possible Infernity barrier, in my opinion, is incredibly like, that's pretty damn risky, but obviously it is held back by that activation condition. This is a card that has to wait for something to be activated in its column, and I think that the crazy thing is, if it starts seeing a bunch of play, like it could definitely change how people like start playing the game. Like, people would probably only activate cards in, you know, columns that their opponent doesn't have any face downs in, which could be just really interesting. There could be all types of mind games. I'd also like to point out, since Shutline is going to be released at a time when the pendulum zones are going to be moved to the back row, that's really cool because it's just more cards that you get to negate. So it's almost like this card is going to be released with a nice little buff. Now, you won't be able to get field spells, which is unfortunate because field spells have really kind of taken off over the last 6 months, and terraforming is seeing so much play. But in general, that is just kind of nice, being able to hit pendulum cards, because if Shutline was out right now, you wouldn't even be able to hit the pendulum scales. So my takeaway from Shutline is it's a very powerful card. It is situational, and I think that it is a 3 or 0. Like, I think that you don't want to run just like one random copy of Shutline. I think you should be running 3 of them, like maxing out on your potential of getting it early. Especially, I think this card would be really good if you're drawing it in multiples, and I think that the earlier you get it in the game, the better it is. Maybe you could probably run 2, but don't run like one tech copy of Shutline. I don't really think that that serves the purpose. Maybe Solemn Strike is going to end up getting hit because, you know, this card is just a generic Infernity barrier that any deck in Yu-Gi-Oh can run. I like the fact that any deck can now have that negation protection. Like, there are a lot of good decks out there that can make strong boards, or that desperately need like lockdown, or maybe not even lockdown, but just a way to keep their boards protected because they don't have a legendary 6 Samurai Shien, and maybe this can kind of step in and be that card. Will people start playing around it? Definitely, but that doesn't make Shutline bad because you say, oh, well, it's easy to play around. I mean, people have been playing around Torrential Tribute and Mirror Force since like 2003. I mean, those cards obviously aren't bad. People try to play around them, you know, right now in this format. So what do you guys think of Shutline? I think that it has a lot of potential, and it'll be interesting to see how it ultimately, you know, affects the meta. I hope it's not a common. I'm going to cross my fingers. I don't want it to be a secret rare because, again, I think this is a card you're going to play multiples of, and who the fuck wants to go out and have to buy 3 secrets? I hope that it is a super rare. Anyways, whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching, as always, and subscribe if you have not already. Oh, actually, before I end the video, One last thing, Lithium brought this up, very good point. I think that we are not gonna really have to start enforcing card placements. I know all those guys out there with their $700 Spellgrounds and shit, like, I've never been into that bullshit, but like all of those Spellground mats and all these mats that like don't have card zones and whatnot, I wonder exactly how that's going to be affected, because it seems like you could really shark your opponent easily. Nope, you activated it in that card zone, your cards are moving over, you get a game loss, etc., etc. What do you guys think about that as well?